Let's get started. So welcome to a whole new episode of This is Recruiting, a webinar series by Hackerearth. My name is Samantha and I'm from the marketing team here. I am extremely thrilled to have you all here today. We have a fantastic topic, creative sourcing strategies, out of the box techniques that you could use to find great tech candidates out there. I know we have a lot of sourcers and a lot of recruiters on the call. We're going to be diving deep into all things sourcing. So please keep those questions coming in. Feel free to drop your questions on the Q&A box that you see on your Zoom control panel, or you can also use the Zoom chat window to drop in your messages. All right. Now for a quick and short introduction about Hackerearth for all of you who aren't aware. Hackerearth is a global company that helps recruiters like you basically source, screen, and interview great tech talent, right? Our platform of integrated solutions basically help you create really robust assessments, coding assessments that you could use to filter out candidates early on in the process, right? So saving you time and basically helping you hire the best tech talent out there, be the first to do that and close those high priority technical roles. If you'd like to learn more about us, please head to our website. We're at hackerearth.com. And if you have any questions or you'd like to get in touch, feel free to drop in a note. With that, I'd like to formally introduce you to my wonderful, wonderful guest today, Ronnie Bratcher. Hey, Ronnie. I've had the privilege to speak with Ronnie a couple of times prior to this webinar. I think the most recent being an exclusive session on Clubhouse where Ronnie shared a lot about his sourcing experience, his passion, and technical techniques as well to take back. For all of you who don't know who Ronnie is a passionate sourcer who brings decades of sourcing experience. And besides being a hands-on practitioner, you can find Ronnie as a regular speaker and trainer on several recruiting forums, some of which he's been a part of in the past, including the Sourcing Summit and SourceCon. So Ronnie, welcome aboard. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So Ronnie, to kick things off, would you like to share a little more about yourself? I know we spoke about this briefly prior to the session, but please do share your journey with us to becoming the sourcer you are today. When did that passion for sourcing actually begin?
Yeah, that's really interesting. It started a long, long time ago. Basically, I started in this business in 1999, so kind of the boom of the internet. And when I got into staffing, I was just so curious about the web, and it just because it's something that was just so new to me as a person of the older generation, right? So I just started learning techniques, and I worked in the staffing model. So as everybody knows, it's very competitive, not only outside competition, but your internal competition. So I always wanted to do something differently that my peers were not doing. So I would always go do something weirder or smarter, or maybe even dumber than they would, just to do something that find the person that they would not find on their own. And that's kind of where it started. And then after I got out of the staffing industry, I started as a consultant in 2006. And I've worked through many large organizations, such as Microsoft, Sears, Avanade, and then most recently progressing down to more mid-level small startup companies. And so now I'm currently working for a company based out of Chicago, Illinois, as a consultant for Village MD for the last 2 years during COVID, and been helping them grow rapidly as they integrate this clinics into a company called Walgreens here in the United States. So we signed a deal with them. So I've been helping them rapidly grow and be their chief sourcer for the entire company, work in all their different business verticals, from legal to C-level suite to IT to doctors and nurses. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me, and I'm still doing it, so it's good.
No, that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Ronnie. And I do know that you have quite an extensive presentation in store for the audience today. So over to you, Ronnie.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. If you need to stop sharing your screen, I just need to hit share my screen. Okay. Hello, everybody. I appreciate Samantha and Hacker for having me today. Um, so basically today, I was going to talk about 10 different things you can do that, I wouldn't say so much they're out of the box, if you want to call it, but they could be. And what I usually call these little out of the box things is what I want everybody to understand is this is something that you would do in that 5% of your workflow. I mean, so like what I mean is don't spend all day doing this one thing because it will interrupt your productivity and it will become what we call time suck and you're not going to be productive. So these are things that you could do, after you do your normal sourcing processes that normally work to attain people. But if you want to get different small nuggets that you normally would not find, and doing more research using these possible activities, you might find something or someone that you would not have found on, let's say, LinkedIn. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So again, here am I. I'm a trainer, consultant. I've spoken at a lot of international and United States conferences. Lots of projects I've done. Also a graduate of the Sourcing Institute and the SourceCon Academy. And then just from a personal side, used to be a really good cyclist, but I guess I could just call myself a cyclist now. I used to race a lot. Just kind of digressed a little bit. I'm a barbecue enthusiast, so if you ever come to my house, you'll see about 5 or 6 different grills. I love to smoke food. It's just one of my other passions. I even actually win the barbecue cook-off in my neighborhood every year. I don't know how that happens, but it's kind of fun. I don't really do that professionally. And if you know music from the early 90s, I'm a big Pearl Jam fan. And what that means is that when they tour, I'm usually on tour with them. It means I usually go to 5 or 6 different concerts during their tour. So it means I get on a plane and spend thousands of dollars, of American dollars, to travel to see them. And I would just love to go see them in Europe. They're going to play in Europe next year. And I'm actually going to see them in California next month. So, but yeah, I'm a big one of those big, Deadhead followers or whatever you want to call it. But I love Pearl Jam, so it's music of my life. So let's kind of get started. So the objectives today are want to help you take you down a path that you would not try in your daily normal routine. So something to experiment with, basically. I'm going to present several different potential resources for you today that might work for you, it might not. Depends on, sometimes geographical locations don't work sometimes. But I think most of the data I'm going to show today is going to pretty much work anywhere on the planet possible. Shouldn't quote that too well. Again, I want to remind you of the 5% time rule. So like, take 5% of your week or your day and kind of do these little fun little things to find these people that you might find. And then I want you to continue to keep using what is working, but sometimes we just need to go off the beaten path. So what I mean by that is like, yes, if your applications that are inbound come in, great. If LinkedIn works for you, great. Using a job board works for you, great. Have nothing against that. But sometimes you need to go do other things just to get maybe that person that you just cannot find on those typical channels. And I have that challenge every day with my current project. And then my OSINT statement opinion. So we'll talk a little bit about that because that seems like to be the keyword buzz of the decade here lately. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So let's talk about it. So what is OSINT? I know probably a lot of people in here know what it is. I think it's really a cool buzzword, and but some people might not. So we'll talk a little bit about it. But what's crazy? I'll just kind of define what OSINT is. It's called open source intelligence. Basically, it refers to that any public data that's online can be exploited, meaning that if it's online, it's legal to do something with it. So, if we're going to crack passwords or bank accounts or anything like that, that's pretty much illegal. That's not OSINT. OSINT is investigative stuff. So like we want to go find data on me that is publicly findable. So that's what open source intelligence is. So what is funny about this is we probably have been doing this since we started recruiting or sourcing. I know I have since before it was even called OSINT. Um, so my opinion of this is like, if you want to go get certified, great. You want to go build a, virtual machine, that's great. Sometimes, unless you're getting really paid for it, which a few of my friends have in the past, and maybe still do, you don't need to be building virtual machines, but you can still use the techniques of the people that are in the open source intelligence community, the tools they use, some of them I'll show today, that will help you find potential profiles that you can recruit. So what kind of sources are there? Well, there's the internet, right? Huge. It's kind of neat. It's kind of like how it got me into my job. Then there's like radio, there's television, there's newspapers, maybe still newspapers. There's books, there's online books, there's magazines. You can find people that way. There's journals, there's conferences, company profiles, anything like that, online, dissertations. We look at photos and videos, that's pretty much the normal methods, right? And then we can find information through geospatial maps and commercial imagery projects. So you've probably already been doing this, you just didn't realize it. That's basically my point. So so just keep it cool. It's all good. But OSINT's there, and we can help each other. And OSINT's done a lot of good for a lot of things recently here in the United States with some of the political happenings that's been happening. So I think it's a really, really good thing. So first tool, there's a thing called OSINT Framework. Really simple. It's an online website and basically has a lot of free resources and also has some paid resources on it as well. But it's a really cool UI graphical that you can, like, if you just want to say, oh, I want to go use these different tools for this different search, it's all on this page. So it's, I put the link up here. It's osintframework.com. And what does it look like? This is the interface. And basically, what you have over here is a bunch of buttons. And as you can see, there's different titles. So like email addresses. So there's going to be tools to find email addresses. There's tools to find IP addresses, to find instant messaging tools. So dating sites. If you go down lower and lower, it gets into more stuff like, what parts of the world are, not good and things like that. But, business records and things like that. So, immediately, since I love search engines, I went down here and I clicked on search engines, right? So if you click on the blue button like here, pops out tools for search engines. So to the left here, or to the right, I'm sorry, you'll see different types of search engines. So general search, meta search, code search, FTPs, news search, all those things like that, guides, fact checking, things like that. Well, I thought, well, let me just click on the old general search. Boom, it comes over here with pretty much some search engines. Some of them you might have never heard of, and some you probably have. So obviously it gives you some of the more popular ones like Google, DuckDuckGo. Then if you're, in Europe, you probably use Yandex. If you're in China, using Baidu. Then there's some others like, Instia and Holby, the things you never heard of. And then there's, a couple of tools there. So if you click on them, it'll immediately take you to that page and you can start using that tool. So it's just a quick and fast way to get around to find tools fast without just doing a search. So it's all kind of listed right there. So it's just like a nice little framework. It's free and you don't have to pay for it. And it's been a tool I've been using for several years now. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. The next thing I want to talk about is finding people on the web using what we call domain search. What I mean by domain search, what is the most popular domain? So we're talking about basically the top level domains. So top level domains are the highest level in the hierarchical domain name system. There's so many. I gave you an A to Z domain list here. You click on that list when you, after the webinar, you're going to see it broken down. There's, domains for accounting. There's domains for restaurant groups. There's domains for schools, of course. There's domains for the government, blah, 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 just on and on and on. So basically, what are we talking about? We're talking about what's the most popular? .com, right? So we're always using .com. But there is so many others that people will post their resume or their CV out on the web, not using .com sites. So for instance, I do have a .com website, right? I also have a .me, but I haven't built it, unfortunately, but I have the ownership of that domain. So so if you don't, so a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, a lot of people put things on different domains. So what we're going to do is we're going to site search these. We're going to come up with a lot of data, resumes that you would not otherwise come up with using .com. So let's look at a few. Excuse me. So the first one is .cc. So basically, I'm going to use the same search through the next 4 frames, I think, using the different domains. So let's start with .cc. So my search string is basically resume or CV. I'm looking for a software engineer or a software developer, and I just want Python, AWS, and I'm taking out the job because I don't want any jobs, right? So I just put minus job. You can put minus jobs too, but the way I start my search, the way I structure my search is I do it very simple at first, and then I either, if I like it, I keep it, or if I don't like it, I'll build on it and add things to it. So I'm just doing all this in basic, simple terms so that you can go play with it in your own teams. So I'm just kind of showing you how to do it. So don't think, these are proven facts, but, for this particular exercise, it worked pretty well for me. So when I did this search, and I did it on Google, of course, because I think that's the most popular search engine that everybody uses. So we just use Google. So I plugged it in, and then I've come up with what they call 299 results. So I'm going to pause here and talk about that. So your goal is to get into the framework of getting results no more than 500. As a researcher and a sourcer, I want to be able to go through these pretty quickly. And if I have more than 500, it's just too much data for me. So if I had 500 or more, I probably need to restructure my search string to bring it down just a little bit more. Now, if you are a big web scraper, which I'm not, maybe you want 10,000 results. But for my job, I usually like to keep it between 100 to 500 results. And that's not a true number, by the way, on Google. It's just an estimated result, but it's pretty close. So when I did this, the first one that came up was this download my CV, SWM. And as you can see, I have a keyword highlighter a little bit, and it bolded the words quickly. As a researcher, I can tell that this person says they're in New York, they're a senior software engineer, their skills, their listing is AWS and Python. Those are the couple things I'm looking for. Boom, I'm going to click on that person's profile, and I'm sure it's a resume, and it's got all their data, and I can, start the process of entertaining this person to come to my company, or give it over to a recruiter to recruit. So that's .cc. .net did the same thing, came up with all kinds of different people that I didn't have on the .cc. Obviously, Neil looks like a great person just right off the bat. Most of his work is in Python. He works, he's deployed AWS, and he's a senior software engineer. So that's .net. So there's a lot of these, by the way. So I'm just giving you some of the more popular ones. There's .me, like we said earlier. So a lot of people are saying, hey, it's me, right? So you put the resume on, this is my resume spot, right? So as you can see, I did the same thing, and Jerry right here is the guy I looked at really quick, and he seems to be a good fit. And then the last one is Edu. So if you're looking for more academic kind of people, doctorate degrees, doctors, things like that, people usually still go back to their universities or colleges and still have rights to post their resumes on their academic site. So they keep that domain. So try Edu. So, as you can see, all these people are at different colleges, universities, Columbia, GNU, RPI. So basically, they still have the rights. Now, these could be graduates currently, and some companies do hire graduates, so this could be a great resource for you as well. But some people that are experienced still use these websites, so definitely give it a try. So that is domain search. So I came across this tool probably around 2013 or so, and I use it every once in a while to get stuck in a rut. So it's called Synthspot. I showed it several times, and it gets kind of complicated because you're thinking, oh, it's going to pull me some resumes. It really doesn't. We're going to try, it's more of a research tool. So basically, it is a search engine, and it tries to parse the top results from the web and gives you a summary of it on the UI. I'll kind of explain that when I show it to you. But this is their definition. Basically, I'm not going to go through it. I'm going to show you how I use it. So here's the UI. It's pretty simple, nothing fancy about it. What I like about it too is it's pretty global. So you can use it in English, French, Dutch, and German. So if all my friends that are living in the Netherlands and over in France, and, you need to do things in those languages, you can definitely turn that on. Since we're doing it in English, we'll just keep it there today. But this is what it looks like. It's pretty simple. So how do I use this? And I'm going to show you how I did it. So I was tasked to find a director of what they call clinic operations in the healthcare world. So I'm sitting here thinking, man, that's just a really hard kind of role. How do I kind of find these people? Probably from an article they mentioned they're a clinic operations person, or maybe there's a leadership profile or something like that. So I thought, let me use Synthspot here and see what I can find by using some simple natural language search. What I mean by natural language search is how we talk, how we speak. So how you type into the web, how do you present somebody on the web? So I put in quotations here that I am, and then I put director of clinic operations, quote, and I want somebody definitely in the healthcare space. Clinic might do it, but healthcare probably would keep me in finding those people. So do the search. Here we go. Boom. This is what it looks like when you pull it out. A couple of cool things about this. It does bring up what they call a word bubble up on the top. So it's going to give you the keywords that are most mentioned when you did that search. So what I mean by that is the bigger the words are, the more they're mentioned in my search below. So if you want to do a quick A/B testing check, yep, healthcare is there. IM is big. And there's medicine, practice, and primary care. Perfect. So I might find some data down here below that's going to help me find maybe a potential director of clinic operations. So I kind of started just reading. So what these are extractions of is articles or websites of people talking about things about their director of operations. So the second one really kind of intrigued me. He says, I'm excited that we're going to grow our primary care provider. Welcome, Dr. Brown, blah, 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 said Melda, who is director of clinic operations. I'm like, I need to find out more about Melda. So you click on number 2 there. When you click on number 2, it brings me to where this article was mentioning this whole thing. So click on it. That brings up the article. So I highlighted, I did a quick, Control F on the keyboard to find Melda, and I found it. So it still says she's director of clinical operations. So, we're not going to go through this whole exercise, but basically, where would I go from here? I'm going to go say, hey, is she on LinkedIn? Or do I need to do some more searching for her? Find out. Obviously, she works at Ward's Health, right? So see if I can find more information on her so that I can present it to my recruiter, and or if I'm the recruiter, make a reach out to this Melda person, get her background and see if she's a good fit for my role. So that's how I use Synthspot. It's a little bit more, a little intensive, but that's research, right? We're finding somebody that, was probably not mentioned on LinkedIn search, possibly. I didn't go there, but this is a tool that you can use to kind of go down a different beaten path. So that's where we're going to end it on Synthspot. Another tool, this comes from the OSINT world, which is funny, is face search. So if you have done face search on Google before, it has gone away. So what this does is it takes its place. So I'm going to be really fancy here and try to go over to the web page of Google. So here's Google, right? So if I want to look for images on Google, I put in VP of marketing and I want to do image search, which I just did the search. You'll see this thing over here says tools. Click on tools, it does the drop down. And I said, when we do face searching, we want to look for face, right? Look at all this garbage we got here.
Hey, Ronnie.
I can't do that. Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. We still see the PowerPoint tab. We don't see the Google tab.
Oh, that's right. You got to share my screen. Okay, never mind. How do I do that? New share. Oh yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. Let me back up. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Okay. Do you see the Google now?
Yep, we can.
Okay. Okay, back up. So I did a search on VPN marketing, did it image search, and then when you click on the tools, you get this drop down right here. And when you click on type, there is nothing here that says anything about face anymore. Now you can go to advanced Google search and do all this, but it's really intensive. So let's go back to presentation. So there's this thing called face search. So face search uses Google, but it immediately searches faces only. So it's an alternative tool that works great, and I'll show you how I use it. And what I mean by face searching, we're looking for people's profiles of faces that mention something about them, maybe their job title or a function they're doing or something like that. And with Google, just so you know, we're going to show you. Let me just show you the UI. This is face search, and as you can tell, it's spelled differently. It's kind of backwards a little bit. Basically, it's a really simple UI, and you just kind of plug and play. So I'm going to show you how I did it real quick. So hopefully you can see that I've been tasked to find a laboratory director in healthcare. So I'm thinking my keywords, obviously going to be laboratory director in healthcare. But I'm thinking, I know this is going to be a director, so I want to find people's probably their leadership structure on some websites. So I'm going to put in leadership team. And as you see on the end, I put -site : LinkedIn.com. Why did Ronnie do that? Because if you do, Google always pulls LinkedIn profiles first. So I'm already probably searching on LinkedIn, so I don't need to search LinkedIn. I want to find profiles that are on people's company web pages and things like that. So I'm going to eliminate the site LinkedIn.com, and I want to find faces of this type of people. So do your search. Do the search. This is what it comes up with. So this is where it gets a little intensive a little bit in your research. But as you can see, I want to show you real quick. It's doing Google. As you can see, it brought the face back into fold on the toolbar, which is not on regular Google search. Really weird, right? So anyway, so here's all my faces. So as I'm a researcher, I'm just kind of looking through here. Our leadership team looks like I'm getting some good hits. So, I think I clicked a few, and when I clicked on this innovativegx.com, I'm going to click on that first that website or that picture right there. It's probably not the laboratory director, but let's see where the laboratory director is. So I click on that website. I come up with this page. This is their leadership team. Okay, so or people on their team. And so when I did a search for laboratory, come over here to Pejman, and here he is, laboratory director. So where do I go from here, right? We're not going to do that today, but we're going to do more research. We're probably going to click on his profile right there. Maybe it gives me his Facebook page. Maybe it gives his LinkedIn, or maybe no data. Maybe it just talks a little bit more about his background. But there's probably some information there that we could take somewhere else. Maybe he is on a popular another profile somewhere, and then we're going to do research and find more about Pejman and see if he fits our background for our role. So that's how I would use face search. So what is the big hottest thing nowadays besides TikTok and Discord and Snapchat in the modern world is Instagram, right? So I would say a lot more people in all demographics and age categories probably on Instagram now, especially since Facebook owns it a little bit. So people probably, I know a lot of my friends have regressed off of Facebook and just use Instagram only, right? So it's probably a pretty good site to go find people, right? Because we're always posting pictures of ourselves and things like that. But I don't want to find pictures. I want to find profiles, right? So I'm going to show you how to find just the profiles. about pictures. You're going to find their pictures, but they ain't going to be anything about what they do. So I'm going to show you how to do that. What other tools are there? There's been some other tools that I've tried that what it does is it brings up more of the influencers on Instagram and not what you're looking for, right? So I'm going to show you how a quick small hack. It's so simple to eliminate just finding the bios of people in Instagram, and then we're going to go from there. So how does that work? This is a photo I took on my Instagram account of my badge because I was super stoked to speak in Tulum a couple of years ago. Amazing place, amazing country. And I spoke at so I took the photo, right? So why am I talking about that? I'm not going to talk about the comments, but we'll talk about the URL. As you can see, I have an arrow. I put a P in here, right? And that P stands for photo. So anytime you take a photo and you upload it, you're going to see this P. So we're going to do something with that P, right? We're going to get rid of that P, and we're just going to get some bios, right? Because we want to know more about me, what I do, and not about my stupid silly badge. So how do we do that? So we're going to do this on Google. And so basically, I've been tasked to do DevOps engineers, right? So let's just do a quick site search. So DevOps engineer, quote unquote, simple. You can add more data if you want, but let's just keep it simple and see what kind of people are on Instagram that are DevOps engineers in bios. So we want to cite on xrayinstagram.com. Then what we want to do is take out that P. So minus site instagram.com/P. Take it out. See what happens. So let's see what happens when we do that. When I do that, it comes up like this. So it brings me up with all these different people that are saying they're DevOps engineers on Instagram, right? So just doing a little look-see through here. Maybe I'm gonna click on Deep Meta right here and see what happens. So when I do click on his profile, when I click there, it brings me up to his profile. Sure, it brings me up to all his pictures down here, but I don't care about that. I want to know more about what's up in this data right here. So he says he's Deep Data, if that's his real name, which I'm sure it is. DevOps engineer, perfect. So Silicon Valley is even perfect since I'm in the United States. And then bonus, he's got a blog. Yes. So yeah, I'm going to go click on his blog, read more about him. And then I'm going to, as we did on the other things, take a deeper dive and go find more about Deep and see if he's going to be the right kind of person for me, my company, matching my skills. That is how you find people's profiles on really easily on Instagram. And I know that locations are sometimes pertinent. I'm not sure, let's see, I forget the post, I don't know the results. I think it was like 400 or 500 results. So, I could probably go through that pretty quickly. But what's cool is, there's some private data there that will lead me down deeper dive. And or if you want to message him on Instagram, you can do that as well. But he might think it's spam, but maybe not. You never know. So that's how we do Instagram searches. So there's tools out there in the world, they just haven't been too exciting for me. If anybody knows of any good ones, I would love to know about it. The ones I try just kind of pulls up all the heavy influencers and people that post the most and things like that. It's not what I'm doing. Okay, so Dogpile. Dogpile's been around probably since I started recruiting back in the day. It is still a really, really, really good search engine. And it's a meta search engine, so it means what it does is it pulls data from all different search engines. And most popular, it says here, Bing and Yandex, which is great, Google, Yahoo, things like that. But what I've found on Dogpile, besides using it as a search engine to find data, is to find people's profiles when they post a video. So everybody loves looking at themselves. I know I don't. I look horrible on this camera right now, and you don't see me do many videos. But I guess I'm going to do a video today. So as you can see, I highlighted the video. I want to find videos of people talking about what they're doing and maybe go down a beaten path and maybe be the right person for me to try to recruit. How do I do that? So Dogpile's UI looks pretty simple. Looks just like this. So you can do image searching, you can do web searching. We're gonna do videos. If you like to shop or if you want to watch the news, you can do all that kind of stuff. But video search. Um, so I'm probably going to come up with a lot of YouTube stuff, but of course, and there might be other ways to do that. But I just like the simplicity of my pop. So we're going to click on that tab, and we're going to do a search for somebody. So I'm thinking about how we're going to do natural language searching in. So we're not looking for their resume now. Some people do post their resumes on video, right? Which is pretty cool. But some people just want to talk about what they do and or give advice, or talk about their coding, or talk about what they're doing. So those, so you think about that and how they talk, do that. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna keep it really simple. You can expand it as much as you want. So basically, I just put, I am a data engineer. Like, okay, cool. So I did that search, and of course, I come up with all these different things. And it gives what's cool about .pause, it gives me a little, you know, little caption of what the video might be about. So, I started reading through these, listening, talk about how, lots of me people include talk about how to become a data engineer. I'm like, I thought interview process for data engineering, his experience. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting since it's in our world. I want to click on this gentleman's um, video and see if there's more data about him in his video site, which probably is. So maybe not, but I did. So I clicked on it. And of course, his video is up here. If you're interested, you can sit there and listen to him. But I'm looking more for the profile, right? So I look in here, and his username is Hylinen, and he talks about his data engineering interviews. And then I'm like, okay, he's probably, and then obviously if he's interviewing for a data engineering role, he's probably a data engineer. So which is kind of cool. But when I pull down his profile, I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. Here's all his stuff. Here's his website. Here's his Facebook group. Here's his Twitter. Here's his Instagram. There's enough data right there for me to get a hold of this guy, look in his background possibly too, to see if he's the right fit for me or a potential fit. So if you wanted to reach out to him, here's all his contact information. So pretty simple. Yeah, that's that. There's not much more to say about that. So, but that's how you can do video search. And there's probably other ways to do that with other search engines and tools, things like that. But I found Dogpile is probably the simplest for me. Next, search and medium. So this is really off the cuff, right? So I've noticed more people posting articles and blogs on Medium. So what is Medium? Medium is where anybody, you don't have to be a professional, it can be just somebody like me who wants to talk about whatever. It could be cycling, it could be sourcing, just a place I can log an article, throw content up, have opinions. I think companies use it, things like that. So I'm thinking, we'll probably talk about themselves there a lot. So why don't we try to find their profiles there, right? So let's try that. Let's see what we can do. So the funny thing about Medium is you gotta sign up to it. So if you do it without signing up, they only let you look at 2 articles at a time. So free account, sign up, do it. We're gonna use site command again. Basically, what I'm looking for is some software engineer profiles with maybe AWS and Python skills. And this is like casting a net into the ocean, but it's one of those things you just got to research more. And sometimes you just get lucky, like we did with the other things. You're gonna find more data about these people and things like that. So, and the hack was really exclusive, but then they took away things. They used to have these things called recommends, has recommended. They took that off, so I don't have to use that anymore. So I thought I can just shorten my URL hack and kind of go from there. So let's just show you how search medium works with your profile. This is just the interface. So as you can see, if I signed in up here on the top, some recommended articles for me, software engineers demand, blah, blah, blah. It gives you recommended topics, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to click on somebody's profile and just kind of show you what their profile is like. So I just clicked on Kurt Cornea's profile here, and this says he has 57 followers. There's about thing. I can follow him. I can message him too if I wanted to. So anyway, I was curious. Let's just hit the about, right? So hit the about. Basically, this tells me usually somebody's gonna say something about themselves here, hopefully. And he says he's a founder, blah blah blah, a janitor of this company. So he's basically a one-man world. So but what I just kind of wanted to show you was I'm I'm right here down here. Followers and following, right? I'm all about that. That's how I'm gonna find it on my site command. So I'm not really, concerned about the articles are written. I want to find more about these people. So what is the link, right? Here's the search string. So the search string is pretty simple. Go to sitecommandmedium.com, and then basically want following or followers. If you don't know what this is a pipe command. Instead of typing capital or in Google, you can use the pipe command. You can use it on Bing as well. Just knocks down the character limit. And then I'm looking for a software engineer or software developer, AWS, Python. Simple, simple, simple. I just want to keep it really, really simple and see what happens. So when I do this search, I come up with this. So I come up with a list of articles of people who wrote things, right? So I'm just kind of perusing down here the highlights of my Google highlight here. Give me the darkened words. So I come down here, this article right here, just kind of like, Amazon shouldn't have hired me. Here's how I became, and I'm like, I was hired as a software development engineer. I'm like, that person might be interesting, right? They're talking about an experience they had, and they said they're a software development engineer from just my basic high level research. So I'm going to click on that article. And I did click on the article. Here's his article. I think I read through a little bit. I'm like, okay, cool. That's good. Sounds like somebody, he's an SDE too, which is, I've worked at Amazon, so I know what that is. Perfect. I know he's saying he is that. So I just click on his about, and it brings me up to his about. And when I go to his about, there's his whole profile. So so I have his full name, right? He's worked at Amazon, and he gives me his Twitter account. So there's more than enough data here to go research more about his background. Make sure he's got the Python and AWS background, which of course he has AWS. He's obviously a software engineer. And let's see somebody if I want to recruit him. The other cool thing is this, you could just send him a message right here too, right? If you think he's the right profile. But as a sourcer and a researcher or a recruiter, I want to go find more about this person just so I don't waste his time or my time if he's not the right fit. So just a little small area for Medium that you could go do things on and try to find people. Things like that. Really cool. So we're going to talk about some search engines. Why would we not? Because that's all we'll talk about, right? So there's just a gazillion of them out there, and they go away every day, and just hard to keep up with. And just like anybody else in the world, we all pretty much stay on Google, right? But I think you should branch out a little bit. We're going to show you a few. Probably show you one for sure in depth, and then looks like I got time to show you about 10 others. Just show you to them. I'm going to do any work on it. Just introduce you to them and maybe tell you why I would use them. But yeah, when you're not using Google, when you're tired of using Google, you should try something else, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about my philosophy of this. So if you buy a new vehicle, or you buy a new tool, or buy a new appliance, do you just like jump in it and drive off, or do you just start using the tool without any instructions? Maybe you do. I know I've done it, and usually, like I just bought a new car, and I don't know how to use. I wanted to turn off these nice features it has because I have a bike rack in the back of my car. It blocks my rear view camera. It makes my car stop all the time. And I didn't know how to turn it off. I didn't read the instructions. So what I'm trying to tell you here is when you go to a search engine, try to find the about or the help section and read that section, because you can't just plug and play the same commands you do on Google in another search engine. It's not going to work. It might, but they probably had different commands. So, and this the second thing of my wisdom on search engines is, a lot of people like to build these, 15-page Boolean strings. Good for you. You know, yeah, I do that sometimes. But the thing about is they're really smart. So when I got into the business, they were not smart. We had to manipulate the date, the URLs, the syntax to make the thing work and find what we're looking for. As you probably know now, when you're typing in Google, it automatically has AI background telling you that you maybe want to see and gives you examples, like Ronnie Bratcher, the conference or something like that. Either they're just a lot smarter nowadays. So what I say you should do is just use more natural language phrases like how people talk, or just put in keywords instead of trying to build all this in or sites and URLs and things like that. Probably do that as you get more advanced, and if you're not getting the data you're looking for, just kind of keep it easy. And as we talked about, Google is not your only search engine. They have made it big, and there's a lot of competitors coming out. I can see that dynamic changing in a couple of years. So try, Google doesn't search everything. Indexes what they're looking, what they want you to find. So if you use some other search engines, I can show you private ones. Some white hackers. Most of the search engines I use are white hacker search engines because they don't want to use Google. They don't want to use Bing. They don't want to be tracked. They don't want their cookies tracked. They don't want their IP tracked. They just want to find the data they're looking for, not what the search engine wants you to find. Some of them have ads, of course, but not all of them have ads. They're getting their revenue somewhere else. And just be, like I said, this is the 5 percentile world, right? Be curious. Just go play with it. If it doesn't work, put it on your list. It doesn't work for DevOps, right? This does not work for DevOps. Keep that in your toolbox. So, anytime I search for DevOps, I'm not going to go to this search engine because it just does not work for me anymore. So, keep track of some of these things in your toolbox. I highlight them like red, green, and yellow. Red means it just doesn't work for that type of search. Yellow means I get some results, but probably not waste my time on it. And green is like, yes, should go to this every time and get some different. So that's just kind of my wisdom on search engines. So let's just show you one more in depth. And then if you don't know Boolean, I'll show you how to use the search engine. It builds it for you, which is kind of cool. So Zap Search, which is zapmeta.com, is another like a meta search engine. It pulls from all these different search engines, indexes, and pulls it into one. So this is their whole description if you want to read it. You can search videos, news, products, blah, blah, anything you want, web pages. So basically, I'm more interested in web pages and things like that. Excuse me. So let's look at the UI. So this is what it looks like. Nothing really fancy here. Shows you some of the things they search, right? Wikipedia, entire web, YouTube, Bing, Yahoo. So it's going to pull from those areas. And then you got images search, video search, blah, blah, if you want to do that. You got web. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this more button over here, right? And down here it says frequently asked questions. You have some settings here. So, if you want to do some settings like, you don't want to get anything rude or keep it safe, you can do that, which is kind of cool in some of these engines. But I'm more intrigued by that advanced button to do my search. So I thought, I'm curious, I'm going to hit the advanced button. So I hit the advanced button. I come to this page. Now, so I don't have to really think about what I want to do here. It looks like it's going to build for me a search string. So right here, search with all the words. So if you go back to what I was looking for before, I want people with all the words of AWS and Python, right? You can change the results here if you want. And then search with at least one of the words. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for resumes, basically, right? Or CVs. You can put CV in if you're not in the US. So you put that in. And then I want the exact phrase. So I'm looking for a DevOps engineer. So I just put a DevOps engineer. I don't have to put in the quotes or anything like that. And then I want to eliminate stuff, right? I don't want to look on LinkedIn because I've already done my search on LinkedIn through other tools or site searches or whatever you've done. And then country. You can do different countries. List all the different countries. Obviously, I'm in the United States, so I put in the United States. So when I do that plug, what do I come up with? That's my search. Right? So DevOps engineer. As you can see, the syntax is totally different than you see on Google, right? As you can see, it puts plus signs in the two words that we wanted, right? It did do the quotes, and it did take out uses the minus sign. This is very cool right here. So you would not even known to do that. So when I started, it gave me a lot of results here. Obviously, I could have narrowed it down, but just for this purpose of this exercise, I did my research and I came across Jonathan Poole down here, and I pulled his data up. He was the right person I was looking for, by the way. As you can see, I can do a quick search, and obviously he's in Canada. So if I was doing a search in Canada, this person would obviously be great for me as well. So, yeah. And I think Samantha, I'm just checking time here. We probably cannot show all these different search engines because we'll just kind of independently talk about a couple here. I listed these on the PowerPoint for you guys, so you can click on them and just play with them yourself. You know, people always forget about Bing. Bing is what does Bing own? Microsoft. Microsoft owns Bing. Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So why aren't you using Bing to search LinkedIn and find more data? So just don't forget about Bing. It's the second largest search engine here in the US. I know that. I'm not sure about other countries. I didn't do my research there. eTools is one of my favorite search engines because I can go down and I can filter what search engines to search. I can turn off Google. I can turn off Bing if I want to, and just search some of the unique search engines for that. So it's a really, really cool search engine. So take a good look at that. And then these others are all private search engines. What I mean by that, these are all the white hackers things. So that means this is where they go do their research. So they're not being tracked. So they're all different countries. So like Metager is based in Germany. Really cool search engine. Can do a lot of amazing things and keeps all your data private, and it pulls the data what you're looking for, not what it wants you to find or what they want you to find. Gigablast is cool because if you go to their syntax page, it'll show you, just like on these other search engines, some really different ways that it pulls data and kind of like how it talks to its search engine. So it doesn't do things like Google, Bing, or any of these other things. So it's got a unique syntax and it's super, super cool. My friend Shelly Steckerl introduced it to me and he uses it all the time. It's really, really cool. Mojik is over here. Mojik is based overseas, still works great. It's been around a long time. And it's, like I said, it's private, things like that. Oscabo is another one. It's private as well. And then the last two are searchencrypt.com and onesearch.com. So when you get a chance, take a kind of look at those. Pretty cool. Here's all my contact information, but I'm pretty easily be found. Or if you can just remember RonnieBratcher.com, all this data is right there. Feel free to reach out to me, connect with me, and if you have any questions about me. So I think we're time for questions. So
Simply wow, amazing session, Ronnie. I think that was spectacular. We had, if you take a look at the chat window as well, we have comments coming in. They've had a great session, so advanced, so many different things. For someone with no recruiting experience, I thought this was awesome, right? We went through Instagram, Face Search, Medium, Dogpile, several platforms to look at, and I think that's great. So Ronnie, thank you so much for going through that detailed presentation. We really appreciate it. We still have a few minutes on the clock, and we do have a couple of questions that have come in. The first one's from Stephanie. She wants to know if these websites work for Mexico, and if so, how can she filter by location?
Interesting. So I'm not an expert in Mexico. I have a good friend that is. So I've not tried it. I'm going to assume they do, because they do work in other countries. So I wish I could answer that as an expert. but I'm not an expert for Mexico. So I would say, well, do some experimenting with it and try it and see. And then with location filters, if the way I do, if you're searching like LinkedIn or I just put in quotes, the location. So if you say Mexico City, Mexico, right? I'd put that in quotes, however you abbreviate Mexico. Um, so that's the only thing I really could suggest. I personally have not had the chance to do any work in Mexico yet. Um, so I would say maybe she can become the expert and show me and tell me, yeah, it works or it doesn't work. That'd be awesome.
All right. Thanks for that, Ronnie. The next question is from Michael. How would you narrow down a meta search on Dogpile, for example, or any other search engine by location?
So like take out what you don't want to use, like let's say Google or so. Is that what you're saying? Is that maybe the answer to the question? Since it pulls from all the different meta search engines, and you're saying I don't want to pull from Google. Yeah, so if you use a manager, the way I probably would do it is I would probably put minus site colon dot google.com. I would try that. I have not tried that yet. Usually when I don't want to pull, if I want to don't want to if I want to pull from meta search engines and I want to eliminate meta search engines, I use etools.ch, which I showed earlier. And it has 21, I think, yeah, 21 different search engines, and I can turn off those meta search engines. That's where I would recommend going. Use it.
Right. We have one last question coming in from Carrie. What tool or tools do you use to find email and or phone number if you don't have it for a candidate?
So yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot of them out there. My go-to is that'sthem.com, and that's US based. I don't know where this person's from. So usually if you have a name and a location, that'sthem.com usually brings up a lot of demographic data behind them. When I'm looking for doctors, since they don't have a presence on the web, that's them will usually state their occupation on their profile. So it says hospital or medicine, and usually it states their salary range. So usually when it says $499,000 US, that's a doctor. Yeah, that's the guy I'm looking for. Usually their email and their phone number. Then I'll take an email tester and test that email. So that's them.com is what I go to here in the US.
Perfect. Ronnie, so I think that was our last question, but early on in the session, we did have some requests from the audience on if there was a common place to access the list of tools or platforms that you mentioned in your deck that they could refer to later. Is there a common space you could access this from?
Yeah, or I don't know if you can share my deck with whoever registered. Is that possible?
Oh yes, absolutely. We can send a
Okay.
copy of that with the recording.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you the deck, and they can have my deck. Simple as that. Save it in a file. Use it all the time.
Perfect.
Steal my stuff.
Perfect. And I think that's going to be one valuable resource everyone on this call is going to look forward to. So, Ronnie, thank you so much again. I think needless to say, and I speak for many on this call when I say that we're definitely walking away with a great deal of knowledge on sourcing, some that we probably haven't ever tried or thought of. So, thank you so much for your time, Ronnie.
No problem. Thank you for having me, and it was really, really fun.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Before we wrap up, I'd like to quickly share a very exciting news with everyone we have on the call. I realize that we have few bit of dropouts, but for the lot of you that's on the call, if you love this webinar and if you've been a part of the This is Recruiting family this year and you've taken a lot from the knowledge-based recruiting webinars that we've covered, you'd be excited to know that we have an exciting tech recruiting virtual conference coming up next month. It's a 3-day event. It's going to include over 20 action-packed recruiting webinars, and we're going to be featuring over 30 recruiting experts out there, some of whom you've already met. So if you're attending, you'll be walking away with tons and tons of recruiting knowledge, tips and techniques, and a free resource recruiter bundle. right? The best part, this is absolutely free. You can sign up, and we've not published this anyway. So this is the first time we're sort of announcing this. Please go ahead. I'm going to drop you a link on the chat window. Please go ahead, sign up. It's absolutely free, but we do have limited seats available. So go ahead, block your seat, and feel free to invite your recruiting team as well. With that, I will close. Ronnie, thank you again so much for a wonderful time. It was lovely hosting you, and thank you all for staying till the very end. Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed this session today, and feel free to write to us. Connect with Ronnie. You have his details, and we'll be sure to send you a copy of the presentation and the recording of the webinar soon. Until then, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you at HIO 101.